Hey there everyone, it's Eternal Snowman, and I'm here for a TLT recap and analysis of my round 4 match versus SMB. I didn't really play super well, and I lost the series 0-2. I actually exited 0-4 because I'm recording this after I've lost to Prodhan already in losers. And I'll also be making a video about that one. Sorry I haven't been uploading that much recently. I've been kind of busy. I haven't had the time. So I'm going to be uploading this one and my recap analysis against Prodhan. And then later I'll do the recap, highlight matches and power rankings of weeks 3 and 4 and week 5 because when I have time. And that will probably be going up later this week because I'm actually going to be going on break this Thursday. So hopefully I can once I get back home, I'll definitely have a lot of time to be recording and I'll be uploading a bunch of stuff. So we can just jump right in. We played UU and NU, and this is the UU team I prepared. So before we start looking at the team, I'm going to say that my thought process going in was that it was either going to be a stall team or it was going to be a Mega Manectric offense. And generally teams that beat one lose to the other, so I wanted to try to make something that could deal with both. But Mega Manectric is a really hard mod to deal with. In UU, because of Volt Switch, it doesn't really have a lot of good answers. And the answers that it does have can't really punish it that well. Or reliable recovery or something like that. So what I went with is Assault Vest Krookodile, which seems like kind of an odd choice, but it's able to Pursuit Trap it, so actually 2 KOs with Pursuit. And the set and the EVs essentially are to outspeed. I believe I was creeping max speed Scizor or Rotom Wash or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the relevant one speed tier hits, but it's pretty... it's just this speed. I try to put enough speed to hit a benchmark, but not invest too much into it. And the EVs are to make sure that it's never 3-hit KO'd by the Hidden Power Ice, or 4-hit KO'd, sorry. It's never 4-hit KO'd by Hidden Power Ice from Mega Manectric, so it's a pretty good check. And it can Pursuit Trap. The Facade is just so that in matchups where there is no Mega Manectric, it can still deal with stuff like Scald, Burns, and stuff like that and still hit hard. And then, of course, it provides knockoff support. Infernape is probably the best Pokemon against Stall. Even though in the match that I brought it, it didn't actually do as much as I would have liked because he actually brought 2 answers to Infernape, which is very uncommon. However, this set is probably one of the best against Stall. The only answers Stall really has to it are Mega Altaria and Mantine and Tentacruel are the 3. But all of them are pressured relatively hard still. With the exception of Mantine, Altaria isn't really a check because it can get 2 KO'd. And then the other 2 are receive pressure from Empoleon and the rest of the team. The Suicune set is really good against Stall and bulky offense. The Scald Toxic. It can PP Stall, and it's really hard to kill as well. It's kind of like Kyogre from Ubers, if I had to equate it to anything, and it's just a really bulky mod. Empoleon, I chose to do Earthquake because it hits a couple relevant mons, mainly Magneton, Alola and Tentacruel, so those are like some Pokemon that would potentially switch into Empoleon that it needed to weaken. Mainly Tentacruel for Infernape, as well as pressuring the Magneton is kind of important for Scizor. But yeah, those are the main matchups it helps with, but it's just knockoff standard. I wanted to have knockoff support just to help help break stuff, fatter teams, and even offensive teams, so it's not dead weight after it sets rocks, because knocking off items can be really important in like changing the way like they play and like different items like especially choice items that would allow it to especially like removing choice scarf to like help versus speed control and that kind of stuff. Pidgeot was my chosen Mega because I wanted Defog and U-Turn on one Mon. I could have went for Mega Manectric, but I think Pidgeot breaks stuff a little bit better, and I needed a fast Mega, so it was between Pidgeot, Sceptile, and Mega Manectric, and Mega Aerodactyl, but I also wanted pivoting, so I went with Pidgeot. It was between Pidgeot and Mega Manectric. I think Pidgeot's a little bit better because in this scenario, because I liked the fact that it provided a ground immunity, and also because it has Defog and it can, I think it hits a little bit harder with Hurricane. And Hurricane's a better like single stab. And then Choice Band Scizor is my essentially my speed control on this team. It also provides a U-turn. It's more of a slow U-turn than Pidgeot, but yeah, that's essentially my team. It does pretty well against like most standard stall. And okay, we can get into the replay because my opponent did end up bringing stall. It's this one. And just from team preview, you can see there are 2 Pokemon that can deal with Infernape, which is what I rely on for like the crux of my stall breaking. My Scizor, it also puts in a decent amount of work. And then Krookodile, not really. But knockoff support is really helpful here. Pidgeot doesn't do much of anything at all. And Empoleon, knockoff support, once again helpful, and it sets rocks on pretty much everything, so that's helpful. So we can get into the match. I lead off Pidgeot here because I'm expecting him to go to lead either Scizor or Altaria, and Pidgeot like covers the matchup. And I can just fire off a Hurricane here without really... Oh, actually, I U-turn here. I think I was predicting the Blissey. Yeah, I predicted Blissey, and he ended up just clicking Frustration. Then he's forced out, and I just U-turn because it's safe, and I go back to my Pidgeot. I actually didn't realize he was how much. I didn't think that. I wanted to chunk the Aloe, but he actually just Toxics my Pidgeot, which ends up being more relevant later. And he goes to Blissey, and I just U-turn predicting the Blissey. And I go Scizor, and he just goes Scizor on my Scizor, and I had a free U-turn there. Every time Scizor gets in free, it's always a free U-turn. And Infernape comes in, and I get the free Nasty Plot because he can't keep in his Scizor. And I kind of make a mistake here, but okay, anyway. So I Fire Blast, I get a high roll, and then my thought process here is that I wanted to click Focus Blast because it has 10 higher base power, but I didn't realize that I actually wasn't Blaze range, so I was guaranteed to OHKO if I clicked Fire Blast, making Focus Blast a bad play. I should have, if I Fire Blasted here, and then I got the kill on Altaria. He was forced to go Mantine, and then I can like safely pivot out, and then Infernape can come in later to break something again because Infernape threatens to OHKO at least Quagsire and Scizor, and then Blissey and Aloe are not safe because I have Z move. So I kind of got greedy for not clicking Z move. And I wanted to get greedy to not click Z move to break something later, but I also chose not to click Fire Blast for whatever reason. So I should have been in a really good position here, but I ended up being in a really bad position with my main stall breaker down. However, he still can't prevent rocks, so I click knockoff here expecting the Altaria to come in. And even if he doesn't go Altaria here, getting a knockoff off is really good because it does help versus everything on his team. So now he goes Aloe, and I get the free rocks and trade for Empo's item. And then I'm going to go for the knockoff here as well because I want to get rid of any passive recovery. And at this point, I realized that with my current team, I can't actually break the stall just by sheer damage. So I need to start PP stalling all his PP away. So Suicune is like... The first one is probably the best candidate because he doesn't really have any hard answer to Suicune. And I can just kind of Toxic everything until it just kind of drops. And I go Krook on the Mantine because, just because I can. I just wanted damage on the Mantine and knockoffs. I was actually expecting him to switch out there, but he actually goes for he stays in. And I get the knock on Scizor. I should have knocked first because there's actually no reason for me not to knock on the Mantine. Because even if he switched out, only Aloe was like safe, I guess. Although I guess yeah, I don't know. Suicune is safe into Scizor. He goes for the Roost, and essentially his plan is to PP stall my Suicune, and well, I mean, there's not that much to say because like, oh shoot, sorry. There's not that much to say because Suicune can't touch Blissey, and then okay, so we can just go through. So I just need to try to PP stall him, but like I'm trying to get rocks up here on the Mantine, and the thing is, I thought that he was one Defog, but in fact he was double Defog, which was kind of troublesome. And but Empo does beat both of the the Defoggers, and I was predicting the Roost there, and I just go for the knockoff there. I want to get rid of Mantine here, so he does get the crit, which is actually really unfortunate for me. And then he goes Quagsire, which I just get the free knockoff on. Goes for another Scald. Yeah, see, I would have been able to take on the Quagsire a decent amount here if I wasn't for that crit, but that's whatever. And I realize I'm running out of toxic PP, so I have to try to conserve it as much as possible. And he makes a good play. I should have not let the... I should have just went like Pidgeot or something to prevent the Aloe from getting more health back, but I don't know. I wanted the rocks up, I guess. I feel like it was just a bad play. I should have went Pidgeot or Krookodile probably would have been the best play. Just so Aloe can't recover for free. And yeah, so that was a bad play. And then essentially a bunch of PP stalling with Suicune. I try to make some plays, but nothing ends up happening. I can't really do anything. And then here, I just try to go for something with Krookodile. Like, I'm just feeling really desperate, and it ends up that I can't really like do anything. And so even with like, I just feel like I'm not doing enough in general. I can't break the Aloe with Scizor, and Scizor's taking too much chip with rocks up, and Suicune's slowly running out of PP. And so I try to go I do get the knockoff on Blissey, which is important, but yeah, I can't. I'm just trying to go for like the crit win con, and yeah, I just don't get anything with Krookodile, and pretty much nothing happens for like the rest of this game. And at this point, I've already lost because I can't break his team, and he can just PP stall my Suicune, and that's his win condition. And Suicune just doesn't have enough PP in the end. That's why I lose. So I would say pivotal moments that I kind of messed up. If I go back, Infernape definitely, if I click the Fire Blast, I would have been in a really good position here. But also, later on, I kind of lose Empo for no reason. I kind of just keep letting it take chip. It doesn't have the leftovers because I traded knockoffs with Aloe, and it keeps taking small amounts of chip damage. And as you can see, it's really good against his team too, because after Mantine goes down, he doesn't, like, Aloe gets pressured really hard by Empo, and like at this point I kind of should have, like, if I had Toxic Empo, it would have been really, really good, because if I had Toxic Empo, his main switch in to Empo was his Aloe, and then he doesn't really have a good answer to it. Eventually the Roost on Scizor would get PP stalled, and if Quagsire gets Toxic, Quagsire and Aloe both would get Toxic and then pressured really heavily. So yeah, kind of greedy for me not to go Toxic Empo, but also I played this pretty bad too, so unfortunately I did lose that game. I went into that new game, so we can go ahead and go through my team before we start. and that is this team. So I just wanted to deal with like a pretty overall arching team that was like a good balanced team, semi-stall. Started with Delphox, Wishy-Washy, because Delphox, Spadef Delphox is probably one of the best answers to Vanillux in the tier. And then Wishy-Washy deals with stuff like Emboar, Emboar, and that kind of stuff pretty well. So this core is pretty strong, and defensively speaking, they have good recovery, pretty good damage as well, just like bulky offensively, and it does a lot of damage to status as well. So pretty strong there. And the Vileplume is next because it deals pretty well with stuff like Guzzlord, Scrafty, that kind of stuff. Like it deals with them pretty well, and also it forms the Fire, Water, Grass core, which is pretty good. And it deals with pretty much all the fighting types in the tier as well, except for Emboar, which Wishy-Washy can deal with, and Delphox to an extent as well. And then Xatu, Xatu is just to prevent hazards from going up. Even though it doesn't do it all the time, it's like a decent mind game. I went Thunder Wave just to help versus some matchups like Scarf. Delphox is kind of troublesome and could be potentially troublesome if it doesn't have this. Piloswine is the hazard setter of choice, and Girder kind of rounds out the team just as a win condition. So it's kind of a bulky offense, semi-stall kind of team. Really good against like a lot of the standard that's going around, but it can get surprised pretty easily. And it does have some weaknesses, like Guzzlord is kind of an issue, but it just depends. So go into the replay. Just from his team select, it looks like Girder is going to be huge. It's going to be a really good Pokemon against his team. And Girder is just really strong because it deals with Cryo pretty well. It beats Rhydon handily. It beats Scrafty. It can beat Delphox on like a one-time basis. It can beat non-Z move Mismagius and can kind of beat Quillfish. So okay, we can start. He leads off Quillfish as I go Vileplume, and I'm just going to go straight to Xatu, but he predicts it and goes Cryo. And I go Delphox on the Cryo when he reveals Knockoff, which is pretty good on his part. But I'm defensive, so I don't mind that much. And I go for the Wish, and then I go straight to Xatu, which he Dragon Tails away my Xatu and goes back to Delphox, so I get the Wish back, which is kind of funny. And I go Vileplume, expecting him to do Rock Blast, which he does. And I just go for the free Giga Drain. Actually, no. I go Girder. I think I was expecting... what was I expecting to come out? Oh, I was expecting the Cryo to come out, and so I go Girder, and he goes Delphox, so I have to switch out just to scout for Psychic, which he does have Psychic, because if it's Psyshock, I actually beat it. He's forced out into his Quillfish, and he absorbs the Toxic, but he once again predicts my Xatu, and so I'm pressured, and he goes Mismagius. I actually don't know what he was predicting. I guess he was predicting me to go Delphox on the Mismagius, but I go Piloswine because it covers the matchup. Well, it gets up rocks. So I go and Icicle Crash, and as he taunts my Pylo, I should have just gone for the Earthquake, but then I go to Girder after, because I know Girder, if Girder sets up, then it can just win. So I go for the Bulk Up, and I actually take a lot of chip because of the Rocky Helmet and the Scalds, but I do end up killing it eventually. Girder's like half health now though, and so I have to go into my own Delphox to take the Psychic, and I go for the Wish. And I kind of okay, because yeah, so I protect expecting the Shadow Ball, but this is like essentially fucks me, and I go for the double protect because it's my only play at that point. If I flamethrowered, it would have been a much better play when he was +2, because then I would be guaranteed not to lose something else, but whatever. And then on Pylo, I actually don't click a move because I was expecting him to switch out. but that's fine. I protect, and I lose the Delphox, because at this point I'm going for the Girder win condition, and I'm just going to bulk up with Girder, but I forgot it's Dragon Tail, and that's when I realized I'm retarded. Because if I... This is really bad by me, because I could have had the opportunity to win if it wasn't for that like misplay, because the Girder is like so good here. Like I had the opportunity to just win with Girder at that point, since Mismagius was not Z move, or no longer had a Z move. And then here I should have just like rested or scouted or something, because he had Thunderbolt, I lost the game. I didn't realize he had Thunderbolt, and then at that point I just lose to the Cryo. There's no point. So I do go down 0-2 to SMB. Overall, I wasn't really happy with how I played. I thought that I could have definitely did a lot of things better. My team choice, I don't think was ever the issue. I do really think these two teams are really solid, even though, I mean, you can't really use them that much anymore because they are SM era teams. But I did like building for it. So my TLT run is over, and I'll kind of talk about my whole experience in TLT at the end of the next video, where I break down my round 5 stuff. But those teams are kind of memey because I kind of gave up. I didn't really have the time to do like a full-on prep for Prodhan, so I kind of just brought a couple meme teams that just so I could have some fun and be less stressed out about it. But I thought TLT was a lot of fun for me, at least, and I'll talk about my holistic experience about it in the next video. So thanks for joining me when I broke down my round 4, and I hope to see you guys next time for another TLT, not BLT, TLT recap and analysis.